Hello, I'm Tim Walker. I'm a gardener here at the National Trust Gardens in Stowe in Buckinghamshire, and welcome to our snowdrop display. Here at Stowe we have our snowdrops are generally growing in the wild areas around the garden. They like sort of dappled shade, often underneath deciduous trees where there's leaves and things like that that can grow through. So the snowdrops will generally be in flower from January through until March time, earlier or later depending on the seasons. They are finding that snowdrops are flowering earlier now in the UK. They tend to like a garden situation growing in the ground. They tend not to like growing in containers for too long. There are about 13 different species of snowdrops. We've just got the Galanthus nivalis, which means of the snow, grows in this country. The most expensive snowdrop was sold in February 2022 for a staggering £1,850 on a well-known auction site. So between the different species of snowdrop, there's quite a variation in the flower shape, the colour of the ovaries and the green markings that you find within the flowers. Some snowdrops have no markings, others have sort of T-shaped markings, others are crosses. You get a variation between the single and double snowdrops. The double snowdrops have a much more complex flower with a lot more petals and shapes within them, which gives them an added beauty. From a cultivation point of view, those unfortunately are sterile, so they produce no seeds. So throughout the garden here at Stowe we have a lot of doubles, but they've all been spread by other bulbs being spread around the garden, whereas the single snowdrops will produce seed and they will spread very well. So the snowdrops are hardy. They will keep coming up each year. To expand the display here in the gardens, we tend to lift them in something called in the green. So really when they've just finished flowering, we will dig them up and split the bulbs up, and then we'll replant them around the gardens in clumps. So a large clump of say 50 to 100 bulbs, we'll split that into 2 or 3 groups and then replant those around the garden, and very quickly they'll establish and will get settled, and we're able to expand the superb display that we have here. The display here, these are a mix of the singles and the doubles. So at the moment this is they're sparse, and I say they will fill in together. But then as we come through to a more established collection here, the majority of these are doubles. They're quite a lot smaller than the single snowdrops, but they do give a superb colour and a superb spread, as we can see here. I think to get the best out of snowdrops, you want to be planting them, say, underneath shrubs that lose their leaves over the winter. So you've got that display coming up in the ground. It's something really to look forward to. And then they're happy for when those trees or shrubs get leaves on them. The snowdrops are happy because they tend to go dormant around June time. They'll die down until they then start shooting up through probably mid-December. The snowdrops themselves are very good for small gardens, sort of say in a rockery situation, or any borders, narrow borders down the sides of houses or sheds or something like that. They'll work fine in that, as long as there's a certain amount of moisture in the soil for when they're growing during the winter season. That's fine, in amongst other shrubs or herbaceous plants as well. They're quite happy with those, as long as they're not in full shade and don't dry out at all over the summer. They will provide you with a year-on-year display. This area is called Lampport, which is where the majority of our snowdrops are here at Stowe. We've got an area here where we lifted and divided lots of snowdrops about 2-3 years ago. So at the moment they're just in small clumps, but as they carry on growing they'll expand and the display will get much bigger. The single snowdrops grow native in Europe. They're not native to this country, but they thought they came in around the 1600s. And then the double snowdrops were first recorded growing in this country in about 1700, which really predates Stowe. We started here in the gardens in about sort of 1730s, 1740s with the development of the garden. But as the gardens developed, obviously the snowdrops have been lifted and moved around the garden because of their superb display. The care of these, we don't do very much to them at all. Aftercare, perhaps when they've died down, we might go across with a mower just to keep the weeds down, give them a tidy up. But other than that, they look after themselves. They're a very easy plant to look after. If you're growing them in the garden, you've just lifted and divided them, one of the key things to do is to make sure you water the bulbs in when you've replanted them, and possibly give them a dose of say tomato fertilizer or something like that, just to help them establish in the garden ready for the subsequent seasons. The time to buy them is actually in the green, so you're buying them when they've just finished flowering. Many of the reputable bulb companies in the country will provide you with those in the green. Get them delivered, plant them in the garden, Don't expect too much over the next couple of years, but once they get established in your garden, they will then produce a superb display for 2 to 3 months early on in the season, and hopefully over time you'll get a superb display like we've got here.